What's good, y'all? It's your boy Ross back at again with another video. So we're gonna check out how Dwayne Johnson got stuck playing The Rock. Now, I wanted to check this out because I saw this in my recommended feed, and I've been hearing a lot of, I guess you could say, negativity towards The Rock's recent starring role in the Christmas movie that he has called The Red One. And I've been hearing it's been, not getting a lot of praise from film critics and people in general. The general consensus I've heard from some of these reviews is it's boring. It's boring. It's not something that you'll probably go back and watch every Christmas. You know how the Christmas classic movies are. And the biggest criticism I've heard is basically Dwayne playing The Rock, or pretty much him just being The Rock. That's it. Like he is in pretty much all his other films. Like, yes, he has a character, but his character ultimately ends up just playing The Rock. That's it. So we're going to check this out to see, where did this trend start for him? And we're going to go from there, man. Appreciate all the love and support. Let's get right into it, man.
There's your advice. Straight out of the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, entertaining the globe never hotter, talking to two rejects from Harry Potter.
The world of professional wrestling is considered a niche form of entertainment, a haven for hardcore fans. But even if you've never sat down for Monday Night Raw, there's one wrestler everyone knows.
The Rock.
Better known these days as Dwayne Johnson, might be one of the most famous humans on the planet.
For sure.
With a vine of bad reviews going back to the early aughts, you might wonder how the world's biggest star got stuck in a loop of lowbrow flicks and franchise flops.
If you smell
Classic Rock is cooking.
Like many pro wrestlers, Dwayne Johnson was born to hit the ropes. His father, Rocky Johnson, was a prolific A-teamer who burst through barriers in the sport to become the first black champion of the WWE. Hundreds of pro wrestlers have followed in their parents' footsteps, and as grandson of legendary wrestler Peter Maivia, Dwayne Johnson eventually joined those ranks as the first third-generation wrestler. But prior to his true calling, Johnson began playing football, and despite being signed by the Canadian Football League straight out of school, he was cut from the team before the season kicked off. Returning home without real direction, Johnson turned to the sport of his family. Although he eventually succeeded in earning his father's support, Rocky Johnson had a few choice words for his son.
Hey, look around. Like I was one of the successful ones in wrestling, but I got a little fucking apartment that I can't even afford to pay $500 a month. I don't want this for you.
Seeing raw talent in the legacy wrestler, WWF maestro Vince McMahon thrust Johnson into the ring at just 24 years old. During his first year, Johnson performed under the name Rocky Maivia, a combination of his father and grandfather's names.
Yep.
Perhaps due to oversaturation, audiences tired of the new good guy. And before long, Rocky was openly booed by fans. And that is when everything changed for Dwayne Johnson. Returning in his second year, Johnson began a new phase in his career. Known to fans as a heel turn, the wrestler shed his...
This was good, bro. This heel turn changed everything for him. To be honest with you, if you want to kind of put it into some type of perspective, the heel turn, this character change, the persona is what made him what he is now as one of the biggest movie stars, one of the biggest stars in general. Once people started to see how much charisma he had in this new heel form, in this new heel persona, that's when people, the fans, started to really buy into him. And then once you start seeing it in movies, people just kind of associated, The Rock as this character that you would see even in films. But I guess you can say it kind of spurred from this heel turn. Because without this heel turn, we don't know if he becomes the biggest star in the world.
His babyface persona and adopted a new name. As The Rock, Johnson found major success within a very short amount of time. For many wrestlers, it takes half a lifetime to go over with fans. But under his cocky, fan-bashing alter ego, Johnson achieved what only the best heels can ever hope to accomplish. The Rock won over the crowd.
He won
Even
him
though
over.
this crazy wrestling world is a fictionalized world, the fans know 1,000% if you're not being real.
With his punchy catchphrases, high-impact moves, and character-driven performances, The Rock entered culture at large. And because his heel turn earned him so many fans, Johnson again became one of the good guys. Although other wrestlers before him had also made the leap to public consciousness, Johnson's ascent had a trajectory unlike any other. As his ringside popularity gained traction, new ventures began to open up for the wrestler. Just 4 years into his professional career, Johnson appeared in music videos, sitcoms, and even Star Trek.
Resistance is futile.
So is all your talk.
These early appearances showcased him as a WWF star first and foremost. But after The Rock entered Studio 8H as the first solo wrestler to host Saturday Night Live, Hollywood came knocking. Although Johnson's villainous appearance in 2001's The Mummy Returns was brief and cursed by poor CGI, studio executives wanted more. According to the film's director, a spin-off starring The Rock was demanded almost immediately, and this time he wouldn't be playing the heel. As soon as the studio saw the dailies, the president of Universal was calling me up and saying, "You got to write a movie for him." Somehow, over the next week or so, I came up with this idea that became the Scorpion King movie.
And I remember watching this and like him being in the Mummy. I thought that was fucking cool. Like, it's The Rock. He's in a movie. The CGI was horrible even for back then. But the fact that they went along and that was all right, let's give him his own solo movie, The Scorpion King. You can only pull that off if you see the star potential. That's literally what it is. Once again, it goes down to him having that character change. None of this happens. No studio is going to invest millions of dollars on someone that they don't feel like can put seats in these theaters. And The Rock was that guy. He still is that guy, but as of late, the movies he's been involved in haven't been selling as much. So
just 1 year later, in 2002, The Scorpion King was released to great success, despite its generally poor critical performance. And most successful of all was Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
In fact, his massive paycheck earned him a Guinness World Record as the highest paid first-time actor at the time, as the wrestling star began to rise outside at the time.
That's crazy. 5.5 million. That's crazy. You don't want to know what's even crazier? Apparently, for the new movie that he's in, the red one, he was able to get, and I don't know how true this is, but he was able to get $50 million for the role. That's $500 million for one role. That I don't know how true it is, but that's the rumor that he was able to get $50 million for this movie that he just did. 50. All starts way back when.
As the wrestling star began to rise outside the ring, Johnson's ropeside fans had, well, some opinions. Johnson's oversaturation and heroic exploits grew tiresome. Taking an extended hiatus from wrestling, Johnson starred in The Rundown, a buddy comedy action romp that should have been a smash hit. Featuring hilarious slapstick comedy from co-star Sean William Scott and brutal beat-em-up stunts from Johnson, the film was praised by critics, but became a massive letdown at the box office. When Dwayne Johnson sidelined his wrestling career in pursuit of Hollywood success, it made sense, and when he did return to the ring after filming The Rundown, he once again took up a heel persona. As Hollywood Rock, many began to suspect that maybe there was some truth to this whole egomaniac business. Although he had returned to the heel business as a pro wrestler, Johnson's film roles continued to place his efforts under familiar, heroic spotlights. From action star good guys in the Walking Tall reboot and an adaptation of Doom, to real-life reflections in Be Cool and Southland Tales, even dual football flicks in Gridiron Gang and The Game Plan harkens back to his history in cleats. None of these early roles go beyond what audiences already knew about Dwayne Johnson, and none of these films are better for it.
And I want to say, there have been reports and rumors that, he has creative licensing over some of these scripts and stuff. Like, his character can't get beat up like that. Like, his character is pretty much impervious. Like, it's impervious to taking L's for the most part, so I don't know how true that is, but you can kind of somewhat believe the idea that he would want his character to be above everything else, not take any major L's like that. Like, you can believe that. You can buy into that rumor being something true, considering some of the rumors we've heard about him, when he came back as the final boss, and how, he has special treatment. He can say what he wants on air. Nobody's going to fire him. He's one of the executives now. He's one of the board members. So, and how I don't know if y'all remember the rumor when, obviously he was feuding with Cody earlier this year, how, Cody really couldn't say what he wanted to say or whatnot. The Rock kind of had to approve some of the stuff that Cody would potentially say in relations to talking about him. Like, other people couldn't really bash him too much. So I don't know how true that is. But I've heard the rumors, and we've all heard the rumors, that he has a lot of creative control over whatever he's involved in for the most part. And he doesn't really want to look bad on the receiving end of things.
Featuring family-friendly cheap shots and low-budget action chops, Johnson seemed destined to go the way of so many other pro wrestlers turned would-be film stars.
Yeah.
But unlike those wrestlers who came and went before him, Johnson persevered by sheer will. Following a string of false starts and flops, Dwayne Johnson pushed on. More action comedies, more kid flicks, and little to show for it, but then, nearly a decade into his film
Fast
career,
Five,
The Rock went
the Fast
fast.
Furious.
Who the hell are you?
Fast Furious
What you
series.
call an ice cold can of whoop ass.
The Fast franchise was already known for big action,
Yep.
larger-than-life characters, and massive box office
And we just seen a video talking about how the Fast and Furious franchise essentially saved or rejuvenated The Rock's career.
numbers. But 2011's Fast 5 exploded into theaters with a worldwide take that doubled the staggering success of its predecessor. And as Agent Luke Hobbs, Dwayne Johnson had truly entered the building. It's one thing to use your talents as a lovable badass to dominate the box office as Johnson did in the 5th Fast entry. It's another thing entirely to star in 4 more films that feature those exact same attributes over the following years. While nearly all of Johnson's performances were profitable during this time, it did nothing to support the claim that he was capable of anything more. When your most interesting role is a strange and highly controversial comedy by Michael Bay, well, it's not exactly a great look. But hey, when the 6th Fast and Furious film banks an even higher check than the one before, who can complain, right? Well, certainly not Dwayne Johnson. As the years turned on, so too did the poorly received action roles, the kind with nothing to prove or say. And the money kept flowing. Boosted by a string of hit shows like HBO's Ballers and the autobiographical sitcom Young Rock, Johnson's success crossed many platforms. Speaking of cash flow, Johnson crossed the billion-dollar mark with his appearance in 2015's Furious 7, placing him in the highest-grossing film of any pro wrestler. But not for long.
Crazy.
Although Moana and Jumanji gave us something interesting and hilarious shades of Johnson, they still felt directly tied to The Rock.
Damn, that is a man right there. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
Whether he's the hero of a bloated disaster epic or courting King Kong wannabes, none of these films give us anything more than what we expect. And while that worked to his benefit for a while, the times are a-changin'. Because as Johnson continued to mine the same territory, wrestlers turned actors like John Cena and Dave Bautista began exploring their careers in interesting ways.
Yeah, they started getting into different types of bags other than the stereotypical strong guy, tough action guy. They've obviously followed that path, but they've kind of gotten to different roles that their characters, even though exterior wise they still got the wrestler physique, they kind of went a different route. Especially Dave Bautista, bro. His acting chops have actually been really, really well, other than the stereotypical former WWE wrestler that's just the big guy that's, part of the action scenes and stuff. He's actually kind of gotten into his acting bag. The same thing with John Cena as well.
And unlike Johnson, these dives into raunchy comedy or sci-fi dramas yielded rave reviews.
Yeah.
I've already established that you destroying the ship that I'm on is not saving me.
When did we establish?
Like 3 seconds ago!
I wasn't listening. I was thinking of something else.
Perhaps to retain his mantle, Johnson entered a deal with the DCEU to play the comic anti-hero Black Adam. Those in doubt of Johnson's ability to shed the one-liners and flashing grin were intrigued by the news, but as production troubles unfurled, it became clear all was not well in DC land. When Black Adam premiered, many found the film to be an overly familiar origin story. Rather than the nuanced heel turn fans hoped for, the proceedings are instead just another famous guy in a cape flexing muscle. Same old story, same old Rock.
You should really be more careful with your word choice next time.
It's sad that Johnson,
Yeah.
one of the world's most recognizable stars, was in a lowbrow fast spinoff the year Bautista nearly crossed the 3 billion mark in Avengers Endgame. It's downright depressing to see The Rock in a Disney theme park adaptation just as Cena busts out Peacemaker. With
Yeah.
Fast 10 hitting the lowest box office take in years, it seems perhaps the same old might not be working out for the wrestler. Although the sequel to Moana looks to be a surefire hit with all those involved, it's
For
yet
sure.
again a sign of a performer stuck in one lane. Let's not even get started on Red 1. The less said about whatever that is, the better.
You can't trust this guy. He's on the list. You don't mean that list.
Are you telling me this clown is a level 4 naughty lister?
But there is some hope on the horizon. Acclaimed writer and director Benny Safdie cast Dwayne Johnson in an upcoming biopic. Based on the tumultuous life of MMA fighter Mark Kerr, the Smashing Machine could bring Johnson's abilities to new dramatic heights. As one of the most recognizable stars under
And I've
the
heard about that
esteemed
too.
A24 production banner, perhaps we'll finally see The Rock in a new light. And that's it for this week's episode.
This one's pretty good. I believe he has one about John Cena and Dave Bautista, which I definitely want to check out if you guys are interested in that. But this was definitely good. Let me give the channel credit so you guys can go subscribe if you choose to. It's called Nerdstalgic. I got 1.4 million subscribers. I'm gonna go ahead and like this video. If you guys want to check it out, subscribe to it. I will link it down below. That way y'all can show y'all love and support. If y'all want me to check out the John Cena one and the Dave Bautista one, I definitely will, because their rise into film has been similar to The Rock's, but different in trajectory. And it's actually quite amazing to see how, you know, their careers in acting has really progressed. Especially John Cena's and Dave Bautista. Like, they really surprised people with their acting chops. So if y'all want me to check it out, I definitely will. I'm interested to see what he has to say about those particular wrestlers and their careers in film. But comment down below, let me know, man, some other wrestling related videos y'all want me to check out. And also, what's your favorite movie that The Rock was in? Me personally, the ones I've seen, it would probably have to be Fast 5. That shit was so fucking that movie was way better than I ever anticipated it, and it was fantastic. Loved his character in there. Fast 5 would probably be one of my favorite ones. But y'all let me know what's y'all favorite movie that The Rock was in, primarily in. But I appreciate all the love and support. Road to 150K. Appreciate y'all kicking to me. See y'all next one. Peace.